Welcome to Thoroughly Wrong, and now your hosts, Francisco and Robert. Take it away, guys. All right, good afternoon, Francisco. What's up, brother?
Nothing much, man. Just hanging in there.
Hanging in there, staying home.
Yeah, for the most part.
Well, you work partially in the brick and mortar and partly at home, right?
Yeah, I go in 3 days a week. So,
All right.
best of both worlds, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm going to, so I'm getting the better of both worlds. Like, I get Saturday and Sunday off, and I go in on Monday, and then I take Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, not off, but at the house working, and then back on Friday, and then it's another weekend. So it's passing by pretty fast. Yeah.
Sounds pretty good right there.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but I've been told that 3 days is in my future pretty quick now.
Yeah, we're moving towards as our numbers go down, we're moving towards having more people at the office, so
Yeah, what is
it's expected.
The red tier? Is that?
Yeah, we just got in it. I think it was this morning that our county got into the red tier, which I mean, it's a good thing compared to the purple one. So
Right.
there are more businesses opening up. You can finally dine in person, like inside.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't go out to eat anyway because of my diet restrictions, but I'd rather just walk in, order, and walk out at the most, and usually I call it in and pick it up outside.
Yeah, I think even for me, like I've just gotten so used to that to where like I kind of prefer that too, you know?
Yeah. But you know what? The only thing that COVID has taken away that I miss is I like going to a bar and sitting down at a bar, talking to the bartender, just having a drink, you know?
Yeah. Well, the bars are still closed, so
I know.
probably gonna have to wait a little bit longer for that.
Well, I'm going to wait probably longer after the tier system goes away before I even venture back out like that. I don't know how long this tier thing's going to last, this red tier, because it seems like every time, in New York it happened. Everywhere in China it's happening again. Everywhere they relax restrictions, people relax face mask usage, and it goes right back up.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. We're not, we get a little bit of freedom, and then we kind of just pretend it's not a thing anymore. Whereas we're supposed to, still be diligent, still clean, and still wear masks. Just have, we'll have a few more places open.
Yeah, well, we're like teenagers with cars. Get a little bit
Pretty
of freedom, and man, we are gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it works.
But we'll see how our county in specific reacts to it.
What is it like? I heard 39 states this morning are on the rise again, and we're still got 50,000 new cases a day, and and the president is apparently immune to it now.
Well, I think most of the states that are going up are like the states that didn't have big numbers at first, So like a lot of the middle of the country.
Yeah.
Compared to like New York and like California, Florida, those states are kind of on the downturn. The ones that had the big shutdowns and more strict restrictions.
We have the audit. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I watched a documentary about Wuhan and how it happened in the backrooms poker and all the things that spread it so fast. And now, what is it? March, for 6-7 months later, Wuhan's open, and they have very few cases. And they interviewed a lady on the street, and she said, what would you tell Americans? What advice would you give Americans? And she said 3 words: wear a mask. It's not politicized there. It's like
I don't think it's politicized anywhere besides here.
Just here. Well, what caused that? I mean, I go back historically and look at it, and I still can't see where it went wrong.
Um, I'm not sure honestly. I think part of it was we were already we're already a divisive country. We're very divided.
Yeah.
And then when this whole thing happened, I think that since Trump didn't take it seriously, all his followers and in turn pretty much everybody on the Republican side didn't really take it as serious.
I like how you call them followers, not supporters.
I mean, some
Oh,
of them he has supporters, and then there's people that just blindly follow him without just for no good reason other than he's not a Democrat.
yeah. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't see much. I don't see that much almost worship on the left. I don't see it. It's not this blind following of one person, no matter what that person says, no matter what they do, still support them.
Exactly. So I think his reaction towards it and his attitude towards just the virus in general really is what kind of got us to where we are right now.
He is rather flippant with it, isn't he? It's
Hmm.
like, whatever. And so you go and you get it, and you end up in the hospital, and you have 20 doctors. And I saw something online the other day is the pictures of the doctors that he was touting 2 months ago weren't the same doctors that he was letting treat him now.
No, they were different ones. But even that, like in itself, is just so it doesn't really make sense. Like the way he took it, he's saying, for example, he's saying like it's not a big deal. Like we'll get over it. We'll get past this, in 2 weeks, whatever he was saying.
Right.
And then he gets it, and like the next day he goes straight to the hospital. And I get it, like he's the president.
Yeah,
So
commander
they
in
have to
chief.
they have to take every precaution. I get that part. But even after that, to just dismiss it so carelessly after he himself got it, and like they had that super spreader event with
Right.
that judge's nomination,
Yep.
and it's just like I don't think it's gonna click for them ever. I
Yeah.
think even who was it, like Herman Cain passed away from it
Right.
not too long ago, and I think until someone like prominent, like if that happens, if someone like very prominent in the Republican Party like passes away from it or dies from it, I don't see it changing at all, like their views.
Well, every prominent member of the Republican Party that's got it also has access to high level health care.
True.
So they can't. It's almost impossible to lose one unless But like Herman Cain, like you said, but there was a picture of Herman Cain at that super spreader event, sitting there smiling with his mask off. It's like, and
Well,
then
Herman Cain, because he passed away a while back. He wasn't at that event. He was.
he wasn't
He,
that event that he was at called another super spreader, one of the first ones.
oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's where he got it too. And then I just don't get why it has to be so. Like, I get the whole like we have to open for our economy.
Yeah,
And I get
yeah.
that, and I want that too. I want us to reopen, but to reopen, we have to kind of take this thing by the horns and be strict about it and like wear masks. Like I don't get what's so. The people say they're trying to take our rights away by making us wear masks. Like what right is that? Like it's the only thing it is a slight inconvenience if you walk into the store and I forgot my mask. Let me go back to my car and get it. Like that's literally
Yeah.
the only thing it
Have
is.
you ever been like almost to the store and been like, oh damn it, it's like
At first, I was. I think now by this point, everybody has like at least a mask or two extra in laying around in their car.
yeah, I got two or three. I'm laying in the back seat, one in the glove box. I get
Yeah,
it. I mean, but
but
I still the other day I started to go to work, and thank God I left early. I'm getting down,
hmm
I'm good to the top of the hill, and I thought I don't have a mask, dude. And I thought I'll borrow one, and then I remembered I got to wear an N95 on that. No, 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 no. Those things suck. I hate those. So I had to come home and get a mask. My wife laughs at me because I'm old.
So yeah, I just don't get like why it's so difficult, and it just logically, like objectively, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like you said, nowhere else is it such a political issue as it is
Right.
here. Everywhere else is just a health issue,
Well,
which
what if we
everyone's
had
pretty
done
much.
what Wuhan did, and everybody put a fucking mask on, and 7 months later we'd just be cruising. It'd just be, you know, it'd be a
Well, I think there's
minor
also other
inconvenience.
factors that go into how China handled it, just because of the way their country is run. You know, they're a communist country. They could
Yeah.
like shut everything down, and they can force their people to do things, right? You know,
Right. Sure.
so I think that plays a part of it. Also, I don't know how big of a part. You know, I'm sure a lot of people. I'm sure like everybody wore it also to be safe, but I think how their government is built in this particular like situation kind of help them, you know, recover faster, just because it's very like authoritarian, and you got to listen to what the government says there.
What? There are no countries. Well, there's North Korea. They're not really communist, but they're claiming they don't have any cases. But who the hell knows
Yeah,
what
right,
they're saying is true or not? But then again, who the hell knows if China's telling the truth?
right,
Because they
exactly.
have that I forget what it's called. They don't like to be embarrassed.
Hmm.
It's a huge issue in their culture to be embarrassed. So if they do something wrong, they will do anything they can do or say so they don't look like they did it.
Right.
Yeah, craziness.
But if you look at other, you know, non-communist countries, like in Europe,
Hmm.
for the most part, they got a good grasp on it, even with like the whole like second wave thing,
Right.
just because they treat it as a health issue, not a political issue.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, dude, but it's just like it sounds so ridiculous when you say because they treat it as a health issue. Yeah, it's a fucking health issue. It's the flu. I mean, it's, it's not a political thing. We're not going to vote it away. We're not going to make a mandate and make it go away. It's a health issue. Treat it like one.
Yeah, and it's funny because I always hear, you know, like the people that oppose Joe Biden, like, oh, if Joe Biden wins, he's gonna give us a nationwide mask mandate, and I was like, okay, and is that supposed to be like a knock against him? Like Lindsey Graham said, he was also saying, if the Democrats like sweep, you know, the presidency, House, and Senate, they're gonna take the electoral college away. And I was like, okay,
Okay.
you say it like it's a bad thing.
You're saying, yeah, it's like, is that bad? Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be nice. I heard anybody that has below 100 or anybody that makes below $120,000 a year will have their student loan debt wiped out. That's me. That's my wife. So I'm 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 torn. I don't believe that Joe's going to take away our guns.
No,
I don't believe he's going to show up at the door with two masks and hey, give me your guns. Here's your masks. Wear them or I'll kill you.
exactly.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. There's so much, but you know what? Politics in this country, and I'm sure in other countries also, because the television ads they're just fucking lying. They take issues and they twist them to the point where it looks like um, what is that one California Prop 23, I think it is, where they're saying they have all the dialysis patients. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, they have all dialysis patients. It's like if you vote yes on Prop 23, I'll die. Well, Prop 23 is no more than they want a nurse practitioner or a nurse or a doctor to be present in all dialysis clinics. And they also want them to be able to, or be mandated for them to report infections. And I'm thinking, how in the world can you say you don't want to report infections and you don't want a doctor in a place where a dialysis patient is? That doesn't make any sense.
I
But
think
they just twist and twist until it looks like everything's evil.
yeah, and that's just like these like lobbying like powers that be, and like just politicians pretty much, trying to make it. They try to make an issue very cut and dry. Like, oh, if you vote yes for this, I'm gonna die. So you're like, oh, I don't want that person to die,
I don't want
so
that
I'm gonna
person
vote
to
no.
die.
You know, where
Right.
it's not even close. That's not even close to being, what the whole proposition is about.
And I know that the other side is lying too. I mean, both sides. But have you gone through these propositions and looked at them? Some of them.
No, I haven't, to be honest.
Shame on you, Francisco.
Have you?
Oh yeah, I went through. There's it's Prop 14 through 25, and I went through all of them. Looked at both sides. Went to both websites. Looked to see who was uh, supporting it and who's not supporting it, and got down to the nuts and bolts of them. And most of them are pretty cut and dry to me. I mean,
The one I did hear about is, I think it's Prop 16, where they bring back affirmative action,
yeah,
and that one I don't like. I'm kind of torn on that one, just because I don't know how I feel about affirmative action in this day and age.
right. Well, yeah. I It was implemented when I was young.
Right, and I think back then it made a lot more sense. To whereas now I think it's not. I don't want to say it's not as needed, but I don't personally feel like the issue is as bad as it used to be. I was uh, I was reading, and thanks to legislation, that's similar to affirmative action. It's pretty much like it allows people to go in and out of college. Like what colleges you could get accepted to based on your background or your race or ethnicity. And so, like, for example, I don't know if it's still a thing, but I know Harvard was in a lawsuit because at one point the minimum requirements to get in were different based on your race, which I don't. I mean, from like looking at it like that, to me, it doesn't really make much sense, and I don't think that's fair. For example, like their ACT score for an Asian student had to be 1,300 compared to a black student that theirs had to be 1,100 to even be considered into the university. And to me, that doesn't really make like I don't think that's fair. So it's kind of it's definitely a controversial issue and one that you kind of have to look at the numbers to see if it makes sense to bring it back or if it's actually working.
Right.
So I'm still not sure on that one. That's
Well,
the only one I've really
the only
looked
one
at.
I dug, the only thing I dug out of that one is it was written to benefit politically connected high bid contractors who are minorities. So they want the contracts to go towards the highest bidders, but they want them also to be considered because they're minorities. So it's like this. It's still like this. I'll grease the skids for you a little bit, and it doesn't seem fair. If we're gonna take contracts, the bids should just be based on the bid itself. This material I'm going to use. This is the manpower and the labor it's going to take. This is the time it's going to take, and this is the overall cost. It doesn't matter if you're black, brown, white. It doesn't matter
Right.
because the taxpayers are going to get shafted again and again and again because of things like that. And the other one I was talking about was the bail. They want to do away with the bail system. If you are a nonviolent offender and you're going to go to jail, they got five. It's costing $5 million a day to keep people in jail who can't afford to bail out. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to vote yes to do away with the bail system. I know it's going to have some issues and some problems, and maybe it will need reformed in a year or however we're going to do it. But you incarcerate so many poor people, and because of socioeconomic status, they can't get out. When the guy who makes the money and has the job and commits the same crime, he bails out on the same day. So you might
Yeah.
spend 8 months in there waiting for trial while the other dude's spending 8 months at his job. Not
Right.
fair. Not fair at all. So do away with
Exactly.
that. I'm going to vote against that.
We're getting closer, closer and closer.
I know, dude. What is it, like 10 days or no, 20 days?
Yeah.
24. Oh, I don't know. I just wanted to get here so we can, I have
But
that.
even then, even when it gets here, like it's not gonna be just November 3rd, and we'll know by the 4th, especially with all
No,
this mail-in voting.
no, we're not going to know. I still haven't got my ballot. Who do I call?
You haven't gotten it.
No, I moved in the middle
Um,
of the cycle.
I'm not sure who you would call.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to go to a polling place and vote. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. Because
So
anybody that's not Kevin McCarthy, anybody that's not Trump, and I know my propositions. Let's go.
I think that's the main thing. Like people, whoever you're gonna vote for, that's fine. But just like make sure you don't just vote because of who they are. Just blind. Oh, they're Republican. I'm gonna vote for them. Like inform yourself, especially if you're like undecided or kind of, you kind of sway back and forth on
Yeah,
political parties, which I think a
yeah,
lot of people do.
I do. I do.
Definitely inform yourself what their platforms are. All these candidates on every level have these platforms that they run on, and just take a look at their history, like what they've done in the past, because I think that's the best way to decide who we want leading us.
Yeah, my grandfather, I mean, when I was a child, I still remember this. My grandfather would just go and punch the top, Democrat, bam. That's it. That's all there was. He voted straight ticket Democrat. He didn't look at the ballot. He didn't look at anything. He's like, if you want to vote Democrat, punch here. Pow. And it was over.
Yeah,
But those days are gone because politics is a lot more confusing now, and there's a lot of people seeking power and not to help anyone but themselves.
exactly.
So you need, and two, my grandfather did not have he didn't have the ability to do all the research that we do today. So
Yeah, and right
maybe
now we
that
have
might be part of the problem. There's too
we
much
have yeah,
information.
we have the internet at the tip of our fingers.
And a fly can land on your head and fuck up your whole platform.
That's hilarious.
It
That was
was,
like,
dude.
what do you think about that debate?
Well, that was much more of a debate than the presidential one.
That's for sure.
Yeah. And I looked at it like he wasn't answering the questions. He was obnoxious, and she was very actually almost kind in at times, like, I'm speaking here. Let's not do this. So she tried to talk him down, and the moderator tried to talk him down, and that fly landed on his head. And all I could think of, dude, do you know the history of the televised debate between Nixon and Kennedy?
Are you talking about how the people that heard it on the radio thought Nixon won, but the people that watched it on TV thought Kennedy won?
Right, because of this, he was sweating.
Yeah,
And that, I said, that is a moment in time right there. But in this situation, if you listen to it on the radio, he still lost, but he lost twice when he was on the television.
hmm
Because that fly was just, I couldn't get over. I was like, it's still there. Did it die? I mean,
did it die on his head?
yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, or to be like as objective as I can be, um, I think both of the candidates dodged a few questions. I
Yeah,
think the most prominent one for Harris was the whole packing the courts question,
right.
where she just flat out just didn't answer it. Um, and even Pence called her out on it, like, "Oh, for the record, she didn't answer the question." And that's one thing I didn't like that Kamala didn't do, was she didn't call him out on all the questions that he didn't answer, you know?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think that would have really helped her. I mean, I still think overall she did a better job than Mike Pence. Mike Pence is very like reserved and kind of, he's a lot more calm and subdued than Trump,
Yeah.
but so he doesn't get really flustered that easily. But I just wish Harris would have just called him out a lot more on, you know, on like fact checking or, not even answering the questions.
And
And
backing up, and we're going to change topics now. No, fuck no, we're not going to change topics because I'm not done talking about the last topic. Neither Trump nor Pence followed the directives that they agreed to in either case.
right. And I think that just goes to them trying to have the last word on the issue, just, because that's what sticks in your mind the longest, whoever kind of speaks last.
Yeah. The
But
only thing I was disappointed with, I mean, in Harris is that thing about she said about Lincoln. It just wasn't true. It was just a spun piece of like lore about. And Lincoln said, "No, the American people will decide." No, they Congress wasn't even in session, dickhead. He didn't say anything. He was like, he didn't worry about it at all. But they take these stories and it's like 20 23 days from the election or 27 days from the election, this happened and you love Lincoln and this is on you. If Pence wrote, I heard that Pence wrote his master's thesis on Lincoln. Maybe he knew that wasn't true. He should have called her out. Somebody did. I did. I called her out on LinkedIn later.
and I just don't like the whole format of these debates. They're like an hour and a half long, and that's nowhere near as long as they should be, especially to really get to know the candidates and what they stand for and what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
The thing that sticks out like during these kind of debates are like, the gotcha moments or like the insults or like, those like those like highlight moments
Right.
instead of, the actual policies and what they're trying to do. And I don't think it really does anything. I mean, they talk about what they're trying to do a little bit, but it's too quick, to decide who's going to run this country. I don't think an hour and a half is
Well,
long
no,
enough.
it's not long enough. Hour and a half twice would be better, because people are going to get bored. They're not going to watch a 3 hour debate. But there's so much. It's so difficult to explain to people that, for instance, Kim Mangone, she's running for Congress. So she's on here saying how it's I'm tired of small business being overlooked and we don't need more laws. We need to do this. And I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to change everything. And I thought, that sounds good. It really does. But the thing is, you're going to go to Washington for the first year. You're just going to get laughed at because you have no idea what you're doing. You got to figure out the system and you're not going to bring up any legislation. You're not going to do anything and you're not going to change anybody's mind because these people have been there for 30 years. They're entrenched. They know what to
Yeah.
do and they know how to shut you up and they're going to do it.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big advocate of like term limits on everything from presidents to Supreme Court judges.
Ooh, Supreme Court?
Yeah, I think they should have. I think I was reading someone proposed like 18-year terms
Wow.
where, because I mean, how we do it now, you pick like Trump, he picked three judges, I think, in his first term, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going to be in there for who knows how many decades. Because there's two ways to get out of being a judge is you either die or you quit,
Right.
you know? And the only one I've ever seen quit was Kennedy a few years ago.
Yeah, I remember when he retired.
So I think
I
term
don't know. Could
limits
we
and that
elect
too.
them?
Mm,
Could we elect the judges? Would that work better?
I don't, because see, because when you elect them, I think at that point they're running as candidates, and it's kind of like, well, they have to present why they're better, than the other person.
Right. Well, that's true.
And
But
then there's
like,
also like a very large pool of judges to choose from. And whereas like candidates that are running for Congress or president, it's like a handful of people.
and even when you get these people under the microscope, like those, I, I can't remember her name at this point, but even when you have her under a microscope and you say, "How do you feel about abortion?" She just simply says, "I don't have to answer that because of my religious views." It's
Hmm.
like, well, we kind of want to fucking know, lady, because that's a big issue coming up. And how do you feel about this issue or that issue? And they just talk completely around things. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why people just can't. I ask you a straight question. Why can't you just, as a candidate for president or a Supreme Court justice or anybody, why can't you just say, okay, it's not black and white, but this is how I feel about it?
Because they
And
know it's not politically smart to do that. That's why they dodge every question, because it would it would paint them a certain way.
yeah, it would it would help us elect better leaders
Hmm.
a lot. If I knew exactly how you felt, if you agreed with me, I could go okay. If I didn't agree with you, I could say okay. But I don't know if I agree with these guys or not. And then they get in there like McCarthy, who just has this lackluster career of doing really nothing, and he gets popular, his name gets bigger on the signs, and all of a sudden it's like, well, he's been there forever, let's just vote him back in because he seems safe.
Yeah,
Not cool.
yeah, that's the big problem. Especially like you said, McCarthy, Mitch McConnell. Like if you look at, I was watching some clips of the debate he had for his seat,
Yeah.
and
Kentucky,
like
right?
yeah, in Kentucky, and like they're like so bad in all these things like education, all these like metrics. They're like very bad, or like dead last or close to dead last. And his opponent was just like, he's not doing anything for you guys. He just stays in Washington the whole time, and that's he kind of neglects the state,
Yeah, he
which I
does.
mean, exactly. And I feel like McCarthy's kind of the same way. Like he's so entrenched in DC, and he's so focused on that to where he doesn't even really care about Kern County at all.
Yeah, and you would think, as important as he is within the establishment, that Kern County would be doing a lot better because our leader is very powerful in Washington. But no, not at all. He doesn't do anything for us. He just,
But see, the reason he doesn't is because he doesn't have to, because he knows he's gonna get reelected every time. But because he knows this county is very red, he's a safe pick.
yeah,
So like there's this. It's kind of a weird analogy, but there's a video game, football video game, Madden. It comes out every year, right?
yeah.
And like the fans, they're tired because only one company makes it, and it's called EA,
EA
Electronic,
Sports.
right? So they're the only. Uh, there's like nobody else that makes a rival football game. So every year, it just seems like the same regurgitated game over and over again. And a lot of people are saying, well, they don't have to improve it because, or they're not improving it because they don't have to. There's no incentive for them to improve it. We're going to buy it anyways because it's our only option.
We're going
And
to
that's,
bitch about it, but we're going to buy it.
yeah. So that's pretty much how, seats like that are, like those incumbents that have been there for decades. The Mitch McConnells, the Pelosi's, the McCarthy's, like
Yeah.
their main focus is on DC. They could really care less about what's going on in their, district or state
Do you
because they don't
remember
have to
Strom
care.
Thurmond?
Yeah, I remember him.
he was so he was so old that people were guiding his hand to vote.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like these term limits need to happen because at a certain degree, like I get it. You want somewhat older people in office just because they're wiser for whatever reason, or more life experience, so they kind of understand things better. But there's also a point on the other side where it gets too old to govern,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think
uh,
both presidential candidates are kind of on that end of the spectrum right now.
yeah, man. They're both scary old to me. I mean, I the old when I was younger, I looked towards older people. I did because I thought that's what needs to be because they do have the life experience and they do have that way of thinking about protecting the country, and that's cool. But now that I'm old enough to look back, hell, I like younger people in office, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have better ideas. They're more progressive. They're more about the herd than about themselves. So I think like AOC and they're doing. I don't agree with her on every point, but I love her energy.
yeah, same.
I love her ideas. I wish Bernie would have been, 50s rather than his ancient age because he was an old guy that thought like the younger crowd, more progressive.
Yeah,
It seems like the older people get, the more they want to wall up in the cocoon, and Mitch McConnell's been there since I've been a child, so that's what it's got to be.
and I think we're getting more towards that. Electing more progressive people
Yeah,
is just going to take a long time.
we got to survive
To
the riots, right?
Yeah, to unseat all these, like lifetime politicians. To either wait for them to, retire or stop running to a point where it's gonna, make a difference. It's gonna take some time. Either that or some major sort of like, because if you look at it, if everybody that said was a Democrat and everybody that said was a Republican voted, Democrats would win every single thing
Yeah, they want
for the most
everything.
part. You know, um, so there either has to we either have to wait it out, until these people are slowly replaced, or we need to have some sort of like major wave of like, getting people to vote.
Well, theoretically, let's look at um, the election is won by the Democrats this time. Eh, You don't want
I think it
anybody
will
to
be.
die, but if we could get a Kamala Harris in there and prove to everyone that the younger, more progressive, more understanding, more open-minded people can run this country a lot better than this. You got to have it's fossil fuels or nothing. It's you got to think ahead, and these older people, they're not thinking ahead. They're only thinking about keeping their power and keeping their little cog in society. We need somebody like Harris to step in and say, okay, we're going to forgive these debts. We're going to get people out of debt. We're going to invest in renewable energy. We're going to change the economy. We're going to change the way things work. We're going to change the way you think about it.
Yeah,
Maybe that it would turn the tide, but we need change. We need Barack Obama on steroids, man.
yeah, we do. Hopefully we can get that soon. And that's one of the questions that they asked him during the VP debate, was if they had talked to, Biden and Trump about, the whole, if they can't govern, that kind of transfer of power from the
Yeah.
president to vice president. And I mean, neither of them answered the question,
Yeah.
because they know once they answer it, um, it kind of, I don't know how to word it, but it kind of paints their, their candidate, Trump and Biden, as almost like, oh, well, they're already talking about, you know, not being able to be president, So
Right.
you're gonna vote for somebody that's already like incapable of doing the job.
Yeah, and you don't want to
When
say that.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's a good question to ask, but like I understand why they didn't answer it. I just wish that they would have. and at least acknowledge that, there's that possibility, because they're both like in their late 70s.
Yeah, how
And
old
I
is
would what
Trump?
I would he's like 74, I think.
Yeah,
75.
Biden would be 78 when he took office.
Yeah. And I would, because that's a real possibility that either Mike Pence or Harris would be president. And I would take Kamala Harris 100 times out of 100 times over Mike Pence.
Yeah, I know. You know, the last super elderly president we had was Reagan, and oh, that was awful. That was awful. He was 81 when he got out of office.
Have you heard some of this? Because he had Alzheimer's, I think,
Oh
afterwards.
yeah, yeah.
I remember this story stuck with me for a long time. My high school government teacher, he told us this story about Reagan. He was he was at home. He was done with the presidency and everything, and he was at home in his office. He was already suffering with the Alzheimer's, and he had a fish tank. And in the fish tank there was like a little White House. How they
Hmm.
have like little
Yeah,
plastic things for the fish tanks and stuff.
yeah.
And he gets it, and he grabs it, and he takes it out, and he's just looking at it. And his wife comes in, either his wife or just somebody from the house comes in, and they ask him if he's okay. And he like turns and he looks at them, and he says, he's all, I can't put my finger on it, but this seems like very important. So he had like completely forgotten that he was president of the United States.
At least he was
which
out.
is which was, it's kind of sad if you think about it that way.
Yeah,
But age really affects people, and it's a thing we have to be real about, and we have to talk about it, because it's an
and
issue.
another one of those issues we have to be truthful about. And when the truth is, when you look at Joe Biden, you see moments of that
I
where
mean, I know he
he's
has like a speech impediment. He like stutters.
yeah.
Like I know Obama did that a bit. Um, but I mean, on the first debate, I was really impressed with him. I mean, I was more like, he exceeded the expectations that I had for him in the way he spoke. I know he had like his slip ups here and there,
Right.
but um, I mean, I just don't see, like, when I talk to Trump supporters and they like give me the reasons why they're voting for him. It's like, it's just not true, the things that they're saying.
Oh, I
Oh,
know.
like, well, I don't want to lose my guns. Like, okay, well, you're not going to lose your guns with Joe Biden. Oh, well, he lets all these riots go on, where he's repeatedly condemned the riots and like said that he doesn't support them. He's all about the peaceful protest. So just like every argument they make for Trump, so like just every argument that's made for Trump is just so wrong, and it's just part of his rhetoric that he pushes. Like, they just listen to what he says, and that's it,
Of course.
and they
That's
don't listen
disturbing.
to anybody else.
It's
And
disturbing.
there's some people on the left too, but I feel like there's a lot more people on the left that they will openly criticize Joe Biden. They'll criticize him and say, he does this wrong, blah blah blah, so and so and so, but he does this good. They're willing to criticize their candidate, and
Yeah.
you could still support somebody even if you criticize them in something.
Well, there's a difference between
And
support
I
and
just don't think the right
adulation.
does that.
And they idolize this guy. And that shouldn't happen in politics. It's not, like you said, I have real problems with Joe Biden, but he's a candidate that thinks more like I think. So it
Yeah,
works. It's like we have a synergy with them. But like I said, it's just adulation. It's just whatever the man said, even if he contradicts himself from yesterday, that's fine. He just changed his mind. And then he changes his mind, and that's okay. And then he tweets about Joe Biden changing his mind, and that's not okay.
yeah,
It's everything is just the campaign to me is so negative and so divisive, and so they're so angry all the time about everything, and it's disheartening. And I hope, like I said, I hope that we can get a more progressive, a kinder, a gentler leader in the White House that's not so divisive and not hooked on how does everybody feel about me. Does everybody love me? And if everybody doesn't love me, then fuck them. I don't like them.
Yeah,
That
I
shit
think
needs
Trump's
to
big thing
stop.
is Trump's big thing is he always points the finger at somebody else.
Oh yeah,
If people
unless
are
it's done
losing their
right.
jobs.
Unless it's done right, and then he's like, "I
That's
did
what.
that."
Yeah. So if people are losing their jobs, he'll blame oh well, companies are sending jobs overseas, or like there's illegal immigrants just taking all the jobs. Where if you look at the root causes of the issue, it's not those things at all. And that's what he and I hate comparing him to somebody like Hitler, because I think those two are
Don't
night and
do
day.
that.
At least as of right now. Like Hitler literally killed like millions of people.
Yeah, 12 million.
So
Yeah,
I don't want to compare him to that. But in the way that after World War One, Germany was like decimated. Their inflation was like through the roof.
right.
You couldn't buy. People were like burning money to stay warm, like that kind of inflation. And as he rose to power, he rose to power because he was able to say all these things happened in Germany because of these people, and
Right.
people back that. They believe that the Jews were, the cause of all evil for Germany, and that's how he rose to power. And Donald Trump, in a sense, is doing that same thing where all these bad things that are happening to you are because of these people, whoever they may be.
Right.
And his
He
and
demonizes
these
a
people
lot of
that
groups.
how Wim was saying earlier when we talked to him a few weeks ago. These people that are down on their luck, they hear that and they're like, you know what, maybe he's right. I'm I lost my job because of this person, or like so and so, and it's just not reality, but to them it is, and
Yeah,
they'll
I'm going
just
to go
support
out
him no
on a
matter
limb
what.
here. I'm going to go way out on a limb here. My, I grew up in that culture where it's like, it's because this country's going to hell because of this racial group.
Right.
This country's going to hell because of this minority. This country's going to hell because of the rich people. This country, and they have the levels of hate are insane, dude. And along comes a candidate who begins to parrot what they think. And he didn't pull any punches about it. He was like, the people coming across the border are animals and rapists. And that ignited a people that hadn't voted for ever. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
that I agree with that. That's what I've been saying for years. Our economy's going to hell because of the damn Mexicans, and I'm going to go vote for this guy. And it's like, oh my god, what did you just do, man? You just set back racial harmony 50 years
Exactly.
easily. And I
And
hate
part
that
of
about
me,
Donald Trump.
yeah, I mean, I hate a lot of things about Donald Trump, but
Well,
that's
yeah,
definitely one of them.
that's a big one.
Part of me wishes, because the way I saw Trump's presidency, I kind of saw it as I forgot who said it. It was somebody on CNN, as almost like a white lash out,
Yeah,
as a reaction to Obama. Having Obama for 8 years, it was like we went from Obama to like the complete opposite.
yeah,
So I hope part of me hopes that um, hopefully if Biden wins, it will do the opposite effect. So, if the Dems are able to sweep all three presidency, House and Senate, they can kind of just almost to a point like overcorrect all the harm that he's done.
yeah.
And they could push a lot of legislation. They could push the Green New Deal, all these things, and a lot of it won't pass. But kind of just having that like progressive wave of like ideas, all at once,
Yeah.
I think might help us a bit
I
because
hope so. I do hope
we're
so.
definitely not going in the right direction right now.
Yeah. You know what? I'll close up with this. When I was a kid, when I was in high school, we had to we knocked over Coke machines. It's not very. That's what we did in high school. It was destructive, but I learned something. And when knocking over a Coke machine, you got to get that son of a bitch rocking first. You can't just push it over. So that's what's happening here. Our Coke machines just it bounced back too far on us, and we got to push it over. It's
Yeah,
it's Obama was good. We started it, and the pushback was harsh, man. It came back hard on us, and now we'll push it over this time. But you got to rock some you got to rock the boat sometimes to turn it over, and we really need to do that now.
yeah. This is the. I think it's a very pivotal election in our. I mean, at least in my lifetime, it's probably the most uh, important election that I've been a part of. You know.
I can't think of a well the Obama election was important, but this is crazy what is happening, and the level of insanity that we have allowed to come into our lives and just call it normal. This is normal, and the
Yeah.
rhetoric and the hate and the divisiveness and the name calling from the president of the United States who's acting like an eighth grader. Sleepy Joe, and I shut the fuck up, man. Really, just shut up. Stop, do your
Yeah.
job and stop attacking people. All right, man. Been a good ride.
I like asking people that they'll support Trump, and one of the main things they always say is, "Oh, well, he tells it how it is," And I
Yeah.
was like, "Is that it? Is that literally the only reason you support him? Like, is that is that your starting argument? Because if it is, that's not a very good one."
That's not a good argument because, you could point out a lot of things, and just because you're telling it like it is doesn't mean it's good. Look, there's a dog shitting on the lawn. I don't care about that, okay? But that's how it is right now. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how it is. He's a straight
I'd love
shooter.
to. Yeah, I'd love to get a Trump supporter on here and kind of just pick their brain, and kind of push them on their belief, to
Yeah.
see why
Well,
it is that they support him.
I don't. I, I ask around, and everybody that I know is either non political or they lean towards the left. I have swept those people out of my life, Francisco. I don't want them in my life. So I don't know where they are or how they think. And it kind of scares me to even talk to them because they are so hateful about what they believe.
Yeah, and a lot of them. I mean, I personally believe that a lot of them are just misinformed, or they don't. They like I said, they just listen to Trump, and that's their go-to news station
Yeah,
is a Trump rally. So I feel like a lot of people are just really misinformed on that.
that's what the same thing they're saying
Uh,
about you, brother.
that's true.
They just listen to the news and the facts and logic. That's yeah.
They listen to Trump rallies and Facebook posts. So
Oh man. We need to talk about that in a later one. I finally got off Facebook. I mean, I'm on it just because of the podcast and because of my book, but I don't want to look at it anymore. It was stressing me out.
I
All the
I go on it just for like news or like memes mostly.
memes. You can Google memes, dude.
But especially like something with the like when I saw the fly thing happen,
Yeah,
I knew like immediately it was like I was like, oh, the internet's it's
it's
gonna
gonna
work hard on
blow
this
up.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it did. It did. All right, man. You ready to wrap this one up?
yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. This has been Robert and this guy.
And Francisco.
There it is. There it is. You'll get that one of these days, brother. All right. Thank you.
I'm just not prepared for it every single time.
Yeah, I know. All right. Join us next time on the Thoroughly Wrong Project as we dissect the second presidential debate as it happens. You don't want to miss that. Until then, stay home as much as you can, wear a mask when you can't, and try to be kind to someone. Stay safe. Peace. You have been listening to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your hosts, Francisco and Robert. If you enjoyed today's show, like, follow, leave a comment, and then look in the description where you'll find our website, Instagram, and Twitter feeds. Until next time, thanks for listening. And just remember, never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.